A very good evening once again to all the tech enthusiasts gathered here today. We are excited to kick off the third session of the AI Bootcamp Series 2023, focusing on training and deployment strategies and front-end implementation. So before we start off the session, I would like to share a few guidelines for the session. Please keep in mind that the Q&A will happen after the session has concluded. You can direct your questions to the Slido platform. In the meantime, we will share the Slido link shortly to our chat. Delegates, please kindly rename yourselves in the format team number, first name and last name. Also, you can find your team numbers in the link provided in the chat. And dear representatives of our partner companies, we appreciate if you could rename yourself as AI Bootcamp company name. And all participants, kindly ensure you are muted at all times and your videos remain off so as not to disturb and to keep the smooth flow of the session. Before we dive into our session, let's express our gratitude to our esteemed sponsors. IFS, our official trailblazing partner, has played a pivotal role in making this bootcamp possible. We are also grateful for the expertise and support of our AI expertise partner, Zone 24/7, our mentoring partners, WSO2, 99X, and Nagaro, our industry collaborative partners, Slascom, our ecosystem partners, Virtusa, Trace, and Accelera, our judging partners, LSEG, Surge Global, and Mad Mobile, our venue partner, IEEE Student Branch of IIT. We extend our gratitude for their invaluable contribution in making this event possible. Now, before we proceed with the session, let's take a moment to appreciate the significant role played by our official trailblazing partner, IFS. We have a specially curated video to showcase their incredible contributions to the field of artificial intelligence.
IFS is powering big enterprise, big ideas, and big change. With technology that enables companies to innovate and grow. With unparalleled industry depth that provides a way to create value by joining the dots. And how companies engage with their customers, empowering their people and use their assets so that they can deliver when it really matters at the moment of service. Touching our lives and improving the way we do business across the world.
From the moment we wake up.
To how we travel.
To the business we do.
And how we care for our world.
IFS is leading the way and empowering thousands of the world's most progressive brands. Let us help you be your best.
At the moment of service.
A round of applause for IFS, our official trailblazing partner. Now, to give you a glimpse into the expertise that Zone 24 brings to the table, we have a specially curated video for you. Let's watch the video now and get inspired by the cutting-edge AI innovations from our expertise partner, Zone 24/7.
Zone 24/7, an advanced technology and research center established and headquartered in San Jose, California in 2004, specializing in offering end-to-end technology consulting and engineering services encompassing both hardware and software. Our sound research and development background means that we are constantly developing leading-edge technology solutions ahead of market needs. Our ability to meld hardware and software solutions places us among a handful of companies in the world with the ability to do so.
Zone 24/7 has continued to show phenomenal growth since its establishment, which has pushed us to be a pioneer in the IT industry. We work towards our vision of enhancing the emotional experience of everyone we touch, be it our customers or employees who are part of this great organization.
Our global outreach is empowered by local talent. We are the industry leaders when it comes to hardware and software, catering to an array of industries and providing state-of-the-art products and solutions for global customers. Zone 24/7 is led by a tech-savvy leadership focusing on technology innovation, and our direction is shaped by mentorship and guidance. We are an organization with autonomy and empowerment, which brings creativity and innovation to our day-to-day lives.
We have a diverse range of products and solutions being developed under one roof, bringing in major technologies and diverse tech stacks into our work. We are the industry leaders in a multitude of technology domains, including software engineering, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, robotics, embedded systems, and many more. We are also a pioneering leader in software quality assurance and test automation, striving towards making us a center of excellence in software quality assurance. Zone 24/7 has the luxury of a work culture that is collaborative, friendly, caring, and supportive. Both our culture and environment build camaraderie among us.
Our culture has inbuilt learning and development, defining us as a learning organization where knowledge and learning are highly valued. Zone 24/7 is a place where one can learn, grow, and achieve a great career.
We have a mentoring and coaching mechanism to support individual career growth. We follow industry best practices in managing talent and keep a high focus on the potential for growth and personal development.
Your aspirations are important to us. We provide opportunities to create, innovate, and influence our global products and solutions. You will be able to see the results of your work in a global environment and grow in a career aligned with your expectations and potential. Providing opportunities for intellectually demanding and emotionally rewarding work. We are Zone 24/7.
A round of applause for Zone 24/7, our AI expertise partner. Now, let's introduce our distinguished speaker for today's session. Our speaker, Dr. Akshika Wijesundara, is a machine learning engineer postdoc at King's College London. He applies AI techniques to tackle problems in medicine and healthcare systems in the UK. With a PhD in computer science, Dr. Wijesundara brings extensive experience in machine learning, user modeling, human-computer interaction, and privacy. With a background as a lead data scientist in industry, Dr. Akshika Wijesundara has a keen interest in explainable AI, machine learning for healthcare, generative AI, longevity research, the future of living, and space economics. His past work is associated with renowned organizations, including Google, the MIT International Design Center, the National University of Singapore, and UNICEF. Without further ado, let's delve into training and deployment strategies and front-end implementation with Dr. Akshika Wijesundara. Over to you, Dr. Akshika.
Thank you very much, Sanali. Awesome. Let me share my screen. Let me know if I'm not audible by any chance.
You're clear, Dr. Akshika.
Cool. Awesome. So it's so the idea of this session is to basically go through some of the areas that's not been covered in the previous two sessions. And try and figure out how do we can use LLMs in a production setting, as well as how can we sort of do the UI side of things. So So don't have a specific presentation per se. So I wouldn't be going through slides. I'll be going through a set of demos and examples that I've worked with before. And I know, like we mentioned at the beginning, that questions can be answered at the end, asked at the end, but feel free to ask them throughout. So if it's suitable to answer in the middle, I'll probably pick that up, because that's I want to make this a bit of more like a conversation rather than just a one-way. Me trying to show different things to this few hours of time. So yeah, that's the plan. So the first thing, I've seen the last couple of sessions you guys went through, assuming that everybody participated in those. Not going into detail about LLMs, so that's why the question mark is there. But if you need anything regarding LLMs, like the fundamentals of it, so just drop a message so I can sort of touch base on that, just to get you up to speed. So a general guideline is that whenever you have some time, try and read the original paper on that. Attention is all you need. So that's a really good paper. So if you're new to LLMs, generative AI or AI in general, I would suggest starting from stuff like sequence modeling, where you try and predict something in a sequence. So that would give you a good understanding, like starting with LSTMs, etc. So you can actually build the required knowledge to understand transform architecture, and then use that to sort of understand LLMs and the limitations of it. So how I would generally sort of explain LLMs is that it's more like a sort of a sipped model of the knowledge that we're trying to sort of train the model on. So if we take large language models, it's basically like a zip file of the entire sort of digital knowledge that we have, like through Wikipedia, different books, etc. So you try to get that information and create a zip file, and you can query into that zip file and get answers. So that's like a way of understanding LLMs. If you're not familiar, but I'm sure everybody has gone through a lot of training on this, so no need to do this. But yeah, just a head start on that. So yeah, then we'll go into the Amazon ecosystem. I think the previous two sessions were done on the OpenAI and Azure ecosystem. So we'll touch base on Amazon ecosystem. So they recently, like I think still their sort of conference is still going on. Like they've done a lot of new releases with Bedrock. So they are sort of fully managed large language model, foundation model service. And SageMaker has been there for a while, and it's end-to-end ML sort of pipeline management. So you can like train models, observe them, create pipelines, and deploy them. So you can try everything through SageMaker. And I highly suggest if you are already based in sort of Amazon sort of a ecosystem, that's a really good. It's very easy to sort of integrate generative AI directly through these tools. And also we'll look into LLM evaluation. So there's a framework called Helm. I'm sure most of you might have seen that. Not necessarily sure, it depends. So it's done through Stanford. So they try and sort of rank, evaluate large language models. So that's what we're getting into that. And then a bit of prompt engineering. I think this is covered a lot, but I think I'll try to sort of talk about from Anthropic point of view, the creators of Claude model, and a little bit of hacks that they have, and then the Streamlit, which is Pythonic sort of front-end development framework that you can use to build very easy, quick, sort of data-intensive user interfaces, and you can directly use that to create LLMs. And after that, I'll show a demo that I've worked on before. So at a hackathon recently. So it's basically used like a RAG system, but end-to-end you can build within like few hours of time, something like that. So I can show you that as well. So yeah. So any questions so far? If there is any, just drop in the chat box. In the chat. Cool. Okay, so I think first we go and try to see what Bedrock can do. So Amazon, as I mentioned, has two. I mean, they have a huge set of tools that they have, but the two main tools that they have regarding ML is Bedrock and SageMaker, and then so this is what you get when you sort of log in. So the Bedrock is not available, I think, in all the regions. So I'm using North Virginia. So yeah, as you can see, it's only available in few of these. So even like Europe, like London, you can't find those. So I had to switch to US one. So it's available there. So it's not a problem. So yeah, so they have quite a lot of examples as well, how we can sort of use these large language models. So what they provide is like as it says, very easy to access API to foundation models. You can fine tune them if needed, but you can directly use them with zero-shot learning. So you can take a look at the available models. So I'm not sure how we can provide it. Yeah, you can sort of paste them on the provider. These guys, the Jurassic model, I think that's the I think it's overall rating is really good, Jurassic model. And Amazon has their own text focus model, Titan, and then the image generator. And so that's a sort of set of models that Amazon sort of try to build. I haven't used them much, but to be interested to play around with them as well. And then the Anthropic ones, I think I highly recommend this. If you're not tied to an OpenAI, Cloud is very, how can I say, it's much more secure in a way that how you can sort of like interact with the model, and it's also I'm not sure if OpenAI offers this yet, but I'm maybe in the paid version for sure. So 100K tokens, and then so up to 200K tokens here. So you can like upload like very long documents and try to query into that. So from a text point of view, it's really good. And then there's an instant model, which is, I think, it's much faster, but at the same time, it's not as very complex compared to the Claude V2 models. And Cohere has some models as well. I think they are good for sort of explanations. If you want to like understand how LLMs are sort of reasoning. And then Meta has the Llama. I think these are open source as well. You can use them separately. And the only front end image generation external one they have is Stability AI's one. So you can access Stability AI's image models through this, just accessing API. And then there's the playground, which you can play around with basically before you try and like use that models within some sort of project that you're going to work on. So you can select the model. So you have all these options. Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's just play around with it. Let's see. I'm not sure. What sort of a prompt can we give? Okay. So, okay. Yes, let's see how would this work like. Yeah, it keeps on generating. So you can also play around with like certain parameters here. So as you can see, the maximum length is set to 300, so it stops at 300. So if you want to have more, you can sort of have more extended. So likewise, you can play around with it very easily. So and you can change models. There was an option to compare as well. Maybe not in this specific window. Yeah, you can chat. Okay, in chat you can actually compare model. yeah, you can have two models side by side and see how it performs. So it's basically saves like sort of your previous set of questions, so you can use that within the conversation. So that's what this compare helps you to do in the chat playground. And then can do the image. So there are like two, like on the external one is stability, and Amazon has this one as well. Let's see. Let's see if it works. Let's see. I'm not sure if spelling is correct. Let's say states. I don't know. Not able to generate. Yeah. So you can like give more like further prompt, improve it, and you can change the size of the image, portrait, and also if you want to like use a reference image, like an upload an image, and then use that as the base image, and you can do prompts to change the image. So that's another thing that you can do if you want to like playing around with this. And Midjourney has quite a lot of features, and it's much more matured set of models even compared to what Amazon offers. So I think this is a really good option if you like do really quickly understand what the models can do, and then go ahead and sort of use that. So whenever you log in to this, so I'm already logged in, so you might not see this version. So you first need to go and like give model access. So this is not originally granted access to you. So you need to go and check different models that is available. So I think I'm not sure how many models. Yeah, 19 models are there for now. So yeah, I haven't accessed this one yet. But yeah, when I first sort of logged in, I didn't have access to Claude because you need to give explanation of what sort of project that you're trying to do. So that's very helpful. So after that, they review that. I think it could be a manual process, not sure. So they want to make sure that say it's a safe project that you're working on. So you need to give that reasoning and then get access to the Claude models. Yeah, so that's the general overview of this. And yeah, so any questions so far? I think it's just a walkthrough of what Bedrock can do. Sorry, I don't see any questions. Great. Cool. So the next thing that we can do is try and use Bedrock and see how it actually works. And to do that, I'm going to use SageMaker, which is Amazon's tool to sort of we can run machine learning code with like notebooks very easily, and you can do. It's a very comprehensive tool. You don't need all the features that it offers. Like you can like train from ground up a model if you need. So as you know, like training a GPT model from ground up, like from scratch, it's very expensive. To take like depending on size, it could take up to I don't know, a couple of months or a couple of weeks, and you need like clusters of GPUs. So that is not recommended unless you have sort of a business use case to do that. So what you normally do is like you try to use existing trained models and then sort of either fine tune it or maybe with few shot learning, you try to sort of get what you want. So I think that's why you have so many models so far. So they have trained with public data sets, create the models, and after that you just fine tune it to specific use cases. So I think the key within the sort of generative AI space is, as everybody knows, is your private data set, right? So like that's the key so far because public level of data sets that's been used to train models and that sort of it's very now democratized, so anybody can access it very to a very small price. So I think the advantage or the edge that you can have in any kind of a setting is like you having personal data, whether it's your personal sort of scheduling, like within like Azure, you can find this stuff because I think most of the at least most of the like the enterprise side is like at least Azure or it's Google I've seen. So that means all your sort of calendars, emails, and everything, your personal information is within the Azure infrastructure. So you can directly tap to that information and train something which is secure to you, and sort of use that to sort of improve your sort of workflows, day-to-day activities, etc. So that's the key regarding LLM. So you try and like use what sort of proprietary information that you have, whether it's personal information or within a company, use that, and then you can have the edge. So that's sort of like my viewpoint on like LLMs. So SageMaker, as I said, like it provides sort of all the tools you need to build and deploy ML models, and after that, like how do you monitor this stuff? So here's our clients. I would probably, I think, go to Studio. So I'm not sure Studio still up. Let me see. So you just need to pick the user that you have. So I think this is another step that you have to do. Let me try and see if I can show that as well, because that's quite important. Like you creating a user. Yeah. It's basically you go to this place. You create a domain. So as you see that suddenly then the location changed, so I need to switch to a location that's available. So I previously created one using service, but I've created new domain. It's a single user setup to a company. So it's setting up. If it takes time, I can quickly go ahead and use the already created domain. That sort of let's see, it shouldn't take much time. Okay, it says few minutes. I think this is the domain that's been already created, so it has 2 users. So what you need to do is like this user gateway. So this user needs to have the right kind of credentials. So that can be done through WSIAM console. So let's see if I can open this. So I go to roles. So then you create new role. So basically you're sort of asking AWS to create a role with right permission. So you use that role assigned to a user to access SageMaker. So in that way, you have like the required credentials, as well as you need to give access to that role to access Bedrock, because there are 2 services you need to give. If you create something for SageMaker, you need to add on top of that the required credential to access Bedrock as well. So there are 2. I think I've created one before. Demo user. So this automatically these 3 are created when I pick SageMaker. So I'll try to create a role here. So AWS service. So SageMaker here. So I'm asking, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then no need to set this as optional. Yeah. So if you want to like have much more granular control over the role, you can use that. And yeah, so just you can also add tags if you have like multiple roles. You can tag them just to see if you want to like if you have roles with different hierarchy, like if you use like hierarchical access control, you can use tags to sort of understand which level these tags are, or just to cluster them. So okay, let's see. Okay. So demo 3 should be here. Yeah. So now this role has access to SageMaker, which is the tool that we're going to use to create the required running the notebook. But it doesn't have access to, I mean, you can expand it. So it doesn't have access to Bedrock within this. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, so by definition, I know that doesn't have. So what we need to do is like create an inline policy. So which is basically we add another layer of credentials on top of that. So to this, you add this. So I'm just copy pasting. So it's basically sort of gives Bedrock like all the APIs in access to all the services within API Bedrock for users. I mean, you can change the dates. I've just copied from somewhere else. You can change it to. I mean, you can like sort of version it as you see fit, and then yeah. So that drop 3 was there. Just create the policy. So yeah, now within this demo 3 role, you will have access to SageMaker and then Bedrock, so you can sort of interact within these services very easily rather than just worrying about getting access. So yeah, so there's a similar user called demo, so I'll use that specific user to access SageMaker. So you can select the user here and then open Studio. So it will open something like this. This is like the SageMaker Studio, which I think Azure has something similar as well. So you have, I think Azure has ML Studio, right? So you have this tool set for you to sort of build the ML pipeline that you want to do. So you have Jupyter Lab. You can create new one if needed, but at the same time, I have 2 running. So I'll try and open one of these. Yeah, so now what we're going to do is try and download a yes. We can run a terminal to download what is required. It shouldn't take much time. So let me see. I'll create another one just to show. Okay. So yeah, just grabbing this bit. Yeah, so within this, you should be able to find the list of sort of workshop related notebooks that you can easily access. So yeah, so these are some of the things that we can try and do. Some we don't have to go through everything, but we'll go through some of them to understand what Bedrock can do. So now, just to contextualize the setting, we are within Amazon SageMaker, which is a tool for ML ops and like running ML notebooks. Within that, we're trying to access Bedrock, which is the on-demand API for foundation models that's provided through Amazon. Not going to go into this yet because I've already opened one here, which is just same set of files. So it should be here. Amazon. Open it. Yeah, Bedrock examples. And then, so yeah, so this is the setting up. So the Bedrock has a Python SDK or library, but you can call whatever you like. Yeah, it's this Python SDK called Motor3. So this is like what you use to sort of access Bedrock APIs very easy through Python. So this is just setting up the environment, and it's also as you can see, like run it once. So I wouldn't be running it. So yeah, this is basically setting up the required libraries for us to go through the examples that I'm going to run through. So yeah, making sure that you have the right kind of libraries and the versioning. So this is for text with LangChain, etc. So so I think this is, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, like it's face or face. So yeah, it's a in-memory vector storage, so you can easily use that rather than going to external vector databases. So yeah, this is so this is for different examples that you can find. So as you can see, there are like different examples that are going through, and for that we are installing all the required libraries. And then yeah, there's an error here, but yeah, not going into that. And then yeah, you need to restart the kernel if you can run through it. So you can try and run this and see if it works. So yeah, we're basically importing the basic OSIS and then JSON from Python, and then you have the Motor3 and Motor Core, like the libraries that we use to access the Bedrock API from this notebook. So yeah. So there's a Bedrock client has been created, so that's successful. So we can check. We can quickly check if the list of foundation model that's available through Bedrock. So just to see. So yeah, I mean it's 200. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, these are the list of available, I think the 19 models that we discuss. So it's provided here. So yeah. So yeah, so invoke model is just basically a function that you call when you have the model object created. You can access invoke model API. There are a few other API calls that you can make. So it's one of the calls, and then you have to structure the input that you're giving to the invoke model function for different models in different ways, but it is almost similar, but yeah, there are very minor changes that you need to do, like especially with parameters and also maybe the prompting structure, because these are created by different groups, and based on how they train the models, especially with the prompting structure, you have to change it. For example, Anthropic use sort of XML sort of data structure, data structured in that way when they train the model. Because of that, the prompting needs to be in that way. So that's one example. Especially the Claude models, you have to have this sort of human assistant kind of structure, so that will make sure you give the right kind of expected data to the model to get what you want. So yeah, these are some examples. So yeah, also like some parameters, I think we saw some of them within this when we played around with the Bedrock. So the temperature, top K, top P. So these are like different parameters that you can change to change the output or change it to what what you want it to be. So yeah, the length, repetition. So on a high level, so these are like 3 areas that you can change when you give inputs. Yeah. So yeah, I'll share this after the session, so you can like go through by yourself. So yeah. So yeah. You can try out some models. So just load one. So with Amazon Titan large model, so just this is the prompt. So you have the command, and then you have the sort of the prompt. In the prompt, we have the sort of answer as well. How we want it to start. So this is like way of sort of nudging the model to like try and give the output in this way. So so yeah. So you set the sort of the required parameters, and then you call the invoke model function within the Bedrock runtime model. So unless it's so it's the same function that you're calling, so you just have to set the model ID, so you can get it from Bedrock. If you go to Bedrock, you can find out what's the model ID is, and then this is the body, like the prompt and everything is there. So we set also what it accepts and what we want. So we get the response, and we get it as JSON. So we try and access the results and get this first element in that results, and that's the output text, and then print that. So it's just a very simple sort of HTTP call that we do to the API and use that to sort of get this information. So this is a very basic thing that you can do with Bedrock with very few lines of code, and you can embed that within any kind of a project that you have right now. So only difference that you would need to make is the access, because at the moment I'm running this within AWS. So as long as as I said, when I create the user, the AWS identity access management, when I set it up, it sort of figures it out within that, so it can talk to each other there. But we need to set it up. If you're setting it outside, set the credentials needed. That's a guide on Bedrock how to do that if you want to do it separately. So I think that will be if you want to play around with it locally, you can try that out as well. So as I said, like this is the Anthropic Claude model. Yeah, I'm heavily biased toward this. I don't know why, because I recently went to hackathon of theirs, and they've been really nice people with really nice help on how to like developer team is really great. So it's really interesting. So the way you need to set it up, like just tell what, because this is the human who asked the prompt, and then assistants answer, this is what we want. So this is like some structure that we send it to. So yeah, so you have a JSON body, and then you set the number of tokens that we want it to return. So we just cut it off at 500. And then yeah, similarly invoke. It's the same function, because it's one API we're talking about. We just change these parameters, and then we can access a different API. So this is really, I think, from a software engineering point of view, is really great, because it's you don't have to change a lot of code from your use cases. So you can reuse this bit everywhere whenever you want to access these models. So yeah, can run this as well. Okay, that had an error. Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't run this one. Yes. So that's okay. So if I run prompt data, it still has the previous one. So I need to update it, and so now the prompt data would be this, and then we can call it. So I mean, as you can see, like the failure just happened really quickly, so we got there very quickly. So that's good. So it's working. So yeah, so as you can see, this is what we got from, I think it's the Jurassic one, is it? Amazon Titan. But as you said, the Claude model is much more descriptive, and given the right prompts, you can like get like a really comprehensive answer as well. So yeah. So let's see. This is Jurassic one. So I'm gonna go run this. Yeah. So this is stable diffusion, the image generation one. So you set the prompt as like this. JSON. So stuff like seed is like basically just, it's a way of, so seed happens like in most of the other ML sort of training is basically, if you're doing like standard machine learning, seed is used to make sure that you can reproduce the results, especially in ML, because like it's probabilistic based model. Like when you do training and testing and training, you set a seed so that the way you split the training and test data set is can be repeatable. Similar to that, in stable diffusion, you can set the seed in different values, and based on that, you can try and recreate the output that you're getting. I mean, you can't say it's always, but most of the time it do be like that. So you can like set different seeds to have predictable outcome. So yeah, let's run this and see landscape with trees. Okay, so we get a response, but the issue is like it is yeah, output is base 64 in quoted string. So you can't visualize it yet, so you need to yeah, same thing. Yeah, see, it's the same image. I mean, the one we had before. We can try, I mean, let's invoke again. Let's see what the output is gonna be like. Yeah, it's the same. We can change the seed to 2. Let's see how it's gonna change. Yeah, it changed a bit. I don't know if the seed has a limit, because they're just, I mean, it's not a, it's just changing. It's not nothing to do with the, yeah. So you can change the image like this, change the seed, and you can change other parameters as well. So steps is really interesting. So I think up to 50. So I'll go into pricing a bit. So up to 50 steps, it is fairly cheap. And above steps, 50 steps, like 60, 70, 80, things are going to be a bit expensive. So I think that's the cutoff mark for that. So steps, what you mean is like how many times you want the model to work at this, like how many iterations, and a high number of steps means we want the model to work really hard trying to get what we want. So, but it's really important to understand that high number of steps doesn't always mean quality. So sometimes, so ideally what I've seen is like 50 to 80 steps have been like really interesting. It's good, good enough. But for now we are using 50. We can change it to a different number. So yeah, it's like how much you want the model to work. So simple as that. So yeah, depending if it is, if the image generating is something that good enough for you, I think 50, less than 50 is, it's okay. I think that's sort of like the general rule of thumb. So yeah, so then the next thing is sort of generate streaming output. So sometimes as I said, like invoking model, there's another method that you can try rather than just invoking, which if you invoke the model directly, you get the output direct, like without any stops, any delays. You don't break it down into like, as you see in ChatGPT or any Claude model, like it doesn't stream. So you can use invoke model with response stream, basically to just output it with a delay. So that's depending on the use case, especially if you're dealing with users, that will be interesting because put everything together at one go, it might be too much to read. And while it's streaming, it makes it easier and just reading, but it could be like other scenarios as well. Depending on the use case, you can change something like this. Yeah, it's the same thing, but it came with fast. Let's see this one. So yeah, it is coming as streaming like this. So the same answer, but I mean it has changed a bit. But it is sort of we're getting the in a streaming manner. So you can also like understand the embeddings. So that's been used to sort of convert the whatever the prompt that we give. So yeah, so this is the Titan embed text. This is the model that the Amazon has. So we can use that to sort of look at the embeddings. Should give the embeddings, yeah. So for the prompt that we gave, so these are the embeddings. So yeah, it has a 153.6, the size of that. Yeah, so the vector length is 1536. Yes. So yeah, I mean, you can visualize embeddings as well if needed. So this is just one example. Cool. Just went through, this is like the second step of that. Are there any specific questions? Feel free to type them in. Make sense? Okay. I hope everybody's in the call. Yeah, all good. And feel free to type it in the chat. I hopefully can read them. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I think before we sort of move into the next sort of walk through, I'll try and like go through the Anthropic sort of prompting guidelines that they have given. So I think prompt engineering is, I don't know, it has a bad rep, but I think at the same time, if you understand it really well, it's a thing that you can do to nudge the model to sort of try and get the result that you want and in an optimized way, because there are quite a lot of research done. Like, let me see if I can find something. It was on a Slack channel. So, give me a second. I'm just going through an example. Yeah, I don't know if you have seen this before. So if we tell a model that you're scared, under pressure, your life at risk, you cannot get the model to do something like optimizedly as well as do stuff that is not supposed to do. Like I've tried this multiple times in different models. When you ask something, it if it says it can't do, and I say my life is in danger, it will actually try and give the answer. So this is I don't know, it's a sort of loophole because the large language models, especially stuff like Claude, have, I mean, even like OpenAI stuff, have tried their best to have safety, like guardrails built in to their model. So that means you don't want the model to do any harm to the humans, the users. So because of that, if you say like we are in danger, there's a high probability that you try to give the answer just to save the human's life. So that this is tricky ground, because like if you ask GPT model to try and catch these like fake queries and try to not answer these in a situation that's risky for a human, it's very hard to draw the line like what is fake, what is not fake, and we are giving the judgment to the model. So I think so far what they've done is like try and make sure that no harm is done, and models try their best to like do this. So this is one example. Another example I've tried is that sort of role playing bit, right? So I think it is explained in the Anthropic guideline. So if you give a sort of maths problem and ask it to sort of give the answer and doesn't get it right, you can tell like at the beginning, you can say you are a really good mathematical professor who a maths professor who understand maths really well. Like we can define the type of maths you are good at as well, like pure maths or geometry, whatever. So you give that prompt at the beginning. So in some way, the model will sort of adjust its weights. So in that way, try and solve the problem. So in the first scenario, it can't give the answer. In the second scenario, it will give the answer. So likewise, this is like a couple of months ago. So I don't know if they've changed this stuff, but I think it's a very useful thing to like prime the model as well when you sort of give questions. So don't tell that you're under pressure. I mean, not stuff like that, but priming the model for a specific use case, that's going to be really helpful to get very specific without any kind of fine tuning, just the model itself. You just, in the prompt, you can ask the model to try and give a very specialized answer. In that way, the model will get it right most of the time. So this is the Anthropic guideline for prompting. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you read this. So some of the things are general, but some of them are very specific to Anthropic. So you have to. So it goes through like what is a prompt example. So sorry. So it explains how the prompting should be. So whenever you give, so I mean, it also explains why it is like this. So it's you have the human input and then the assistant. So it's trained through like reinforcement learning with human feedback. So because that is structured in that way, so it's expecting human question and the assistant's answer. So it's much easier to get the required answer this way correctly. So whenever you feel like invoking the API programmatically, definitely use this way. So yeah, and I think like the other thing is like prompt length. It's basically like the amount of data that you can give in, right? Learning. So this is this is approximately So with the latest models, like you can go up to like 150K words. That's like 200K tokens. So I think you understand like the difference between words and tokens, right? So tokens is like what, from model's point of view, what it makes sense to break it down. Sometimes they break it down like even single words if it's not something new. If it's not a word that is in the vocabulary, to break it down. So that's why it's bit like not bit, a lot larger than the number of words. So, but this is an approximate number. So you can go up to this range. You can try out with Claude the normal UI Claude.ai. So you can play around with this. You can just, I mean, I've tried, like I submitted, uploaded my PhD thesis and asked questions on that. And it's like, it worked. So I mean, it was like 600 pages. So that is like groundbreaking in the sense like the amount of, I mean, they released earlier than ChatGPT, like the OpenAI guys. So I think, so they're doing something really good. It feels like I'm just being an ambassador for them. They didn't pay me. So as I said, the correct format and the basic stuff, describe the task well. So thing with large language model coming to play, what's the most important thing that has sort of the skill that you need to develop, right? Like it's communication skills, like because the models have been trained in a way that can be interactive with natural language. So that means the way we speak. And if you can't like communicate really well with the written, or I mean, doesn't have to be spoken. If you can't like communicate really well in written language, it's going to be a really problem. If you can articulate yourself, it's not going to help with LLM. So the main skill that you need to develop is like whether can you communicate really well. So that's the sort of the core of LLM, interacting with LLMs and prompt design. So should be able to like clearly define what you want, and then you do the tweaks afterwards. Yeah, it has some bad prompt examples. Yeah, and then good prompt examples. Yeah. Yeah, so this is one example is I just don't give PIIs, like because it's not safe. Also, we don't know how the communication happens. I mean, Amazon, they say it's encrypted from end to end. So as long as they follow the guidelines they have provided, it's encrypted. So that's great. But it depends. Like different companies might have different policies. You shouldn't always assume that they're doing the right, because it's profit driven, right? So you might like, as long as it's not illegal, they try to do things at the edge. So be careful when you provide PIIs. So yeah. So this is what I mentioned earlier, the XML tags bit. So in a way you can like, it is not necessarily XML. It's like just tags in the structure of XML. So you can say text, or you can say like the answer instead of text, like answer start, answer end, and then you have something like that. Or you can like break it down into multiple, say the context, and so it's just natural language. So it's not defined as XML tags. So you can just structure it like XML tags and have this information in the prompt. In that way, it's easier for the model to understand, and then rather than just putting everything. I mean, if it is not XML tags, at least try to like break it down like in a logical way. Like if you have different sections within your prompt, so that's very helpful. Yes, let's see. So yeah, suggesting like if you can give examples in as well, and difficult cases. So in that way, the prompt would understand, the model will understand how to decode it. Yeah, system prompts. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, this is what I mentioned earlier. Like you define like a goal or a role. You mentioned, okay, you are let's say you are a mental health advisor who has this credibility and some sort of a board certified medical practitioner or a psychologist. I have depression. Like, can you give me some guidance? I mean, I don't think Claude will do that, but what sort of other? Yeah, you can say you are like a visa consultant. I have these queries regarding my visa application. Can you answer this? So doing that, you can get the right kind of answer, much more fine tuned. So yeah. So goes through like why this kind of role playing is really important and like the benefits of that. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have a specific structure, just have that information within the prompt itself. Let's see if there's anything interesting to see here. Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically like how you can optimize this stuff. I mean, having more examples. Yeah, you can test it with holdout. Like you don't show everything within the input and see if the answer is able to like give an expected output for a known example, and then like it's just cross validation basically. Yeah, and then they also have a bit of useful hacks. So this is, I think, I don't know if you want to go into everything, but let's see. So this is really important because you can ask the model to stop hallucinating in a way, because I mean, hallucination, if you don't know the word, what it means is like the model is generating stuff which is not factually accurate. So if we ask a question and if it doesn't know, the model will try to create something, because that's how it's structured, to generate something, right? Generative AI to generate stuff, even though it doesn't know. So you can sort of stop this by asking the in the prompt. We can say, if you don't know, you don't have to answer, something like that. So yeah, so it's a so this is a good prompt. Answer the following question only if you know the answer or can make well-informed guess. Otherwise, tell me you don't know it. What was the heaviest hippo ever recorded? Yeah, so initially you ask like, what's the heaviest hippo ever recorded? Just goes into like a name, a hippo, a bull named Herbert, weight, yeah, 5K kg. So you have all this information, and if you Google it, it's not there. It's just something made up. All right. So similarly, if you have something like this at the beginning, you sort of give space for the model to sort of say, if you don't know, yeah, I don't know. But then it goes to like a sort of a educated guess, right? So yeah, we have 5 tons, etc. So that is much more useful for us rather than this some sort of a made up thing, right? So this is another way of like prompting. Yeah, so yeah, then this chatting is like trying to like give a lot more text. Yeah, so this. Yeah. So this is another interesting one. So you try and understand what's the reasoning behind a specific answer. You ask it to like think step by step. So in that way, you get the answer in a way that that makes sense for us. I think similar, it's this one like complex tasks into smaller tasks. Yeah, so likewise. So also it helps for us if we have like a certain structure in mind for an answer. You can use that structure within the prompt, asking the model to sort of give stuff like in this way. Yeah, so the prompt chaining is another one. I think you basically sort of use answer of another prompt, and then you go and like asking questions to get the required answers. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, just go through it. This I'll share this later on. It's really interesting. Cool. Do you have specific questions? Oh, question. Anthropic Cloud is still in invite-only usage, right? I don't know. I mean, I can access it, but also depends on the region, right? So, but the good thing about AWS is that you can access these as long as you pick the region. You can access the models directly. If you want to access cloud on your own through Anthropic toolset, I have to check. I mean, it's available in the UK, but I don't know if it's available in Sri Lanka. Like I remember I asked my mom to like check cloud AI whenever it came like some time back, right? So, but she couldn't access it. But I think now it's available. At least the cloud, the just the normal general user interface, not the model APIs. But yeah. Cool. Yeah, we did this. Can go more into a example here. So sorry, not here. Or we can go into the. Let's see. What did I promise that I'll talk today? Yeah. So we can go into LLM evaluation. So I think that might be interesting. Then if time permits, I can come back to the other demos that we have. Yeah, so this, if you haven't seen, this is really interesting. So Stanford has done a really extensive evaluation of existing models, using sort of benchmarking all the large language models with the framework that you put to do a comprehensive evaluation rather than like sort of not just accuracy or just toxicity. So then a comprehensive analysis. So I'll talk about like limitations of this as well, but at the same time, I also like show why it's really cool. So there's a leaderboard, so you can see what's the I mean, you have all the models, large language models. We not all the models that can be accessed publicly. So you have so these are different scenarios that they've tried out. So you get ratings for different scenarios, and then you get a average rate, and then like Llama 2, 70 million parameter model, and 65. Those are like at the top there. What's GPT? GPT 3.5 is here. I'm not sure. I don't know if GPT 4 is here though. If it is there, it should be up there, right? Maybe they haven't done the analysis yet. Yeah, this is accuracy. I mean, there's calibration, robustness, fairness. So these are their measurements, the different measurements that they're looking at, and then sort of benchmark like against measurements and the metrics and the scenarios. So bias, toxicity, I think. Yeah, so they also have a paper. I don't know if I can find that. Let me see. Yeah, this one. So yeah, this is in archives. You can find a paper. So this is their sort of way of explaining what is out there right now. Accuracy, robustness, some different kinds of scenarios that's been used to evaluate an existing model. This is what was there, and this is what they offer. So they looked at accuracy, calibration, robustness, fairness, bias. So different scenarios, these are different scenarios, would have these kind of evaluations. I think bias, toxicity, efficiency. So the only problem I mean, not the only, there may be many. One of the main problems that I see with this, one is like explainability. Obviously, it's not evaluated at all. I mean, fairness to a certain extent, sort of bias can give you understanding, but how explainable it is the model, it is not evaluated. So this is something, quite a lot of research going on, like how we can make large language models explainable. The second one is like if you take, I mean, it's an extension of explainability. If we use LLMs in like very critical domains, like let's say healthcare, like which I'm working on right now, it is very hard to like get the LLMs passed through the medical device test, because they have a golden standard to try and get the so LLMs, if it's used in the medical setting, that means it's a medical product, right? So it needs to pass all the medical, like the criteria that needs the examination criteria that all the medical products go through, whether it's like ECG machines, like whatever it is, it needs to pass those criteria. But given that most like LLMs are generally black box, right? Like still, I don't know, maybe I haven't seen, maybe it's there some work that I haven't read, like LLMs are not explainable, right? You don't know why it makes a certain, like you can't like 100% with 100% guarantee, you can't tell why it gives that kind of prediction, right? Because it is sort of a zip file of the information that is out there, but why you get that, we don't know, right? So that's the main problem. So that's really important in critical conditions, especially like, I mean, say space travel, whether it's healthcare. You should understand why the model sort of give that prediction, right? So that's really interesting research area if somebody's interested in to have this kind of explainable large language models. And also another aspect is like, if you look at from a if you take any ML model, like one of the ways you can improve it is using accuracy, right? Like you have like loss function, you try and improve it to reduce the loss. But the loss is not the same across all kinds of errors, because the type of errors that you can get have like hierarchy, especially if you take medical domain. predicting like a routine blood checkup in a wrong way, and compared to predicting like a cancer sort of detection related appointment that sort of triggers. If you weigh these two scenarios, instances, it is not the same, right? You can't weigh these two scenarios in the same way. One is much more high. The cancer risk is so high. So if you get something wrong in that domain, it has to have a higher impact, and it should have a higher error rate for the prediction. So using like standard like error rates, loss functions, it is not very helpful. I think that's another area that if somebody's interested in looking into, like how can you make these sort of flexible errors, loss functions for critical domains of LLM applications or any deep learning application. So that's another area. So yeah, this is very close to my heart because I work on this area. So this is like what they have done, and then they have like sort of used most of the models and just run through scenarios to see like this is the evaluation that they've done. So using that, they have done the scoring and to use the website I've shown here to sort of publicly have these models on a leaderboard. So this changes all the time. So because the models get updated. So yeah, it's really interesting. Check it out. Yeah. So okay. Next thing. Let's see. Yeah, we can sort of go into Streamlit a bit. I think if you are doing any kind of a web app, I'm sure you come across Streamlit, and it's very useful because it's a Python-based yeah. So this is how we can sort of create sort of front end for any tool, but any data incentive ML focus tool. So Streamlit is a Pythonic library that you can use to create graphical user interfaces. So this one, I'm not going into a lot of details in this one because I'll show you a demo how it looks like, something I've created. So it's basically you can just code it up using Python, the different aspects of the UI very quickly, and then so this is the sort of tutorial I used to build the tool that I'm going to show. Just give me 1 second. Cool. Yeah, so it basically like goes through sort of examples that you can like use it. Like as you can see, this to get this input, you just have this kind of text, right? You directly import Streamlit, and then you get the input. It basically as you talking with like a terminal. So you can use that to like get all the information. It's written in Python. I mean, JavaScript, React. You don't need to use any front end here. So that's, I mean, at least for me, it's good. It's much easier. But it is what it is. So yeah, this is you can directly, this guideline just goes through as long as you have the OpenAI key. I mean, you can use it for Claude as well. You can change that, and then you can have like a clone. So I'll show you one example of doing this. Let's see if it works. This one. Yeah. So let's see if it is still. Yeah, this is something I did a couple of weeks ago with one of my friends at a hackathon. So yeah, so we just, what we did was like basically just follow the tutorial. There's nothing fancy in this one, but it took us like, I don't know, a few minutes, like 10 to 15 minutes to get this front end up and running. How I did this is like we got all the UK immigration documents and used that to create sort of a RAG solution where you can sort of fine tune the model, Cloud 2 model with those information that you can ask questions on the visa system. Especially like, at least personally, this has been a major issue where you don't have this kind of like guidance unless you pay someone, and even if you pay someone, it's very hard to get this information correctly, because not everybody knows everything, and because the visa regulations are changing really fast, and it's really important. I mean, that's sort of the hypothesis we had. So use that to sort of train a model, and we can ask any kind of a question. Like we can ask like, let's see. What is, so this is a type of visa here. We can ask. So it will say we need to update it, not to repeat the question. So this sort of gives the answer. So the difference is like it's fine-tuned to the latest documents that's out there. So this is trained like 2 weeks ago. So if you can see sources as well. So you can see where it's coming from. So this is like, I think in the last session, you guys followed, this might have been explained how you can create a RAG with like sort of vector databases. It's very simple, same kind of work that we did. But it's really interesting to see like you can have the references where it's coming from. So as you can see, I mean, it says hackathon. So this is the file that they're referring to get this answer. If it is not there, it'll fall back to the general model. That's the foundation model. But if it is available, they'll first check the fine-tuned data source, and if it is there, they'll try to extract from there. So this is one example, and you can give like really critical, like let's say I'm a Sri Lankan who has let's say a job offer. UK means United Kingdom Research Institute. Funded project. Can I apply for global inclusion? So this is a very complex query. I mean, if you go to, I mean, let's see if it works. Maybe it might not work. Yeah, so this answer you can't directly find like very easily. I mean, you have to go through like multiple documents to find this, but this one, it's really, yeah, I feel this is great in the sense, I mean, this is the power of LLMs, right? I mean, it's nothing fancy I did, it's just very basic tool, but you can like very quickly query questions, which you might not be able to get very easily from Google or any kind of large language model. It's fine-tuning aspect. So yeah, this is 100% accurate. So this sort of shows what you can get, and this is like a very fundamental app used by front-end Streamlit, backend OpenAI embeddings, and cloud model and Pinecone vector database. So this is like what you can do. If you, this is one example. There are so many examples. I'll send some examples to work around. So yeah, this is like, as I said, we can go down like this path, try and figuring out like other sort of demos that I have. But what I want you to do is like, I'll share this information by end of day today and to the organizers, so they'll share this with you. Try to go through this to understand what these models can do, and then what you can need to do is like try and build like GPT clone. I think for you to get much more hands-on experience. So this is used with OpenAI keys. Can play around with other models. Try and see if you can integrate what told Amazon Bedrock with this, which can be done, which I didn't do. If I had an example, I would have shown it, but I started playing around with Bedrock like a few days back. So I think I found it really interesting, very easy to use. So yeah, just give it a go. That's what I would do. And other thing is yeah, and also read this paper. It's 162. There's a blog post of this paper. I'll try to find it, which is shorter, which is like 20 or 30 pages long. You can quickly go through with it. Other option is you just feed this to Claude and ask you to summarize it. So that's another way I do stuff. You just upload stuff. So I'm gonna try and stop here so that if there are questions we can ask, you can ask, and if there's any areas that you might want me to go into, I can try and do that. Otherwise, I have few stuff like one homework assignment and one offer from my side. So to go to that, I'll try and stop the session here. So yeah, I can get questions from your side. Did someone leave the conversation? Sorry, someone are you there? Right. Okay, there are a few questions already. Sorry, anybody from the organizing committee, shall I take these questions or how would it happen?
Yes, Dr. Akshika, actually, we can get the question, we can answer the question after the session. Once this session is concluded, I think that will be easier, right? Like we can straight away go through all the questions at once.
Yeah. So just what I told. Yeah. So I think only thing that I need to go through is like the demos, in the sense like it will be of the same nature. So that's what I said. It will be of the same nature, based demos. And I wouldn't try to. I'll rather than going through all of them. I feel it will be boring. Because it will be ideal. Because these are like with guided notebooks, so you guys can go through on your own time the rest of the demos, what I'm saying. So that's what I thought. It's best to like go into questions so that we can see if out of these demos it's really needed to do one. Otherwise, we can sort of wrap it up because I have sort of homework task for people to like go and do so that you can like try and solidify the understanding of these models. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Anything that is convenient for you, Dr. Akshika? Like,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if it's
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to take the question. Sorry, yeah, that's what I mentioned.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Should I go to the link that is shared in chat for the questions, or would somebody else be picking the question? Sorry. Yeah. 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 So I think shall I read this out? Yeah. Yeah. So I think how can Amazon Bedrock be integrate with other AWS services for generative applications? I think one of the ways I've showed was try and use a tool like SageMaker that you can sort of write, because Bedrock is basically an API. So whatever to cloud service that you use, you can use that, whether it's EC2 or within like any other sort of in local setting, you can use that, and stuff like I think Cloud9. So you have different kinds of ways that you can run an API. So you can use in that way to sort of integrate Bedrock. What you need to understand, if it is within AWS itself, you can directly use like the identity access management to have the authentication set up. But if it's outside, you need to set it up through AWS CLI or some sort of a credential file. So that is provided in the guidelines. So you can provide the credentials similar to OpenAI. You can use the authentication keys that provided through AWS and use that to sort of access the API in an outside setting. So for AWS, within AWS, you can use like a tool like SageMaker to integrate these different kinds of tools. Because if you SageMaker can set up the cloud storage if needed, like a E2 or E3. So in that way, you can easily access the Bedrock APIs. Is this AWS equivalent of Google Colab, which provides a cable to run any model in dedicated GPU? Bedrock, so SageMaker, not necessarily. So Colab is basically like a notebook running application, right? So SageMaker has that feature, but it has more than that. You can like, after you deploy it, you can like understand how the model is performing. You can monitor it like also with new data. If you want to retrain the model with the new data sets that's coming in, you can set it up. So in that way, you can run the full pipeline of the machine learning cycle within SageMaker. So I think it's very, very powerful, but it also has the stuff that you have in Colab. So because you can select the type of the cloud infrastructure as well. Whether if you need, especially if you need a lot of GPUs with more processing power, you can select that, especially at the training phase and inference stage. You can then directly change it to a lower cloud infrastructure that saves a lot of money for you. So it has much more flexibility and much more power compared to Colab. But I think I haven't dwelled much into Google's ecosystem. They should have something similar to this as well. I think they should have an infrastructure that can do the model deployment monitoring, because they have the similar offering, right? You have the cloud, Google Cloud, and the BARD model and like all sort of infrastructure needed, and there should be much better tool than Google Colab. Yeah, that's a second question, by the way, if it's not selected. How to optimize Streamlit performance? So yeah, that's a good question. So I haven't looked into this, to be honest. Like I've just used it a way for me to quickly do front end. And after it's deployed, I think it just acts like a normal sort of a front-end HTML, CSS, JS-based application, right? So I think on their own, like they should be doing within the library different ways that you can improve the performance. But it is a way of quickly generating the front end rather than the performance point of view. So I haven't necessarily looked into this, whether it's we can do any kind of performance. I think performance wise, it will be like rendering speed, things like that, right? It's a front end tool. So yeah, it is something to sort of try and explore. But Streamlit is basically a quick and easy way to build front end rather than thinking about performance. Because I don't know like how it will perform like with like millions of users. But if you have like data, sort of way to visualize data, interact with data, so this is like a really great tool. So yeah, this is a question I should check in depth as well. Yeah, good question. Yeah. Can you elaborate how LLM working internally? So yeah, this is a session on its own. I've done one on, there's one like I previously did on especially looking at attention mechanisms, self-attention. So yeah, this I mean, this is a great question, but the only issue is that it would take a lot of time to explain it. But I'll try to go through like the fundamentals of it very quickly. So LLMs, in the sense, as I said, for you to understand LLM, just think of it as sort of like a zip file of the knowledge that, out in the world, right? So whatever it's used to train the model, whether it's the entire data set in the internet, so that you zip that information in a sort of a not small but fairly accessible model size, right? So you have that, and you can ask questions from that. You can query and ask it to do stuff. It will create give answers or generate something. So the other aspect of large language model is like how it's built, right? So large language model is basically really big neural network that has trained with sequential data set, right? So every iteration that is feeding document or image per se, when you have this information, it will update its weights in a way it's adjusted to the ground truth, right? The knowledge, the reality of the knowledge that is out there. So that is how it's trained. So if you go a bit deeper, level down, it's, as I said earlier, it's LLMs are basically sequence models that can like predict, like generate something new. So you need to try to understand how sequence models work, like LSTMs, bidirectional LSTMs, and how they work, and they have limitations as well. But later down the line, I think 2017, the Transformers paper came out. So that's sort of like the most recent large language model sort of improvements has been done through Transformers architecture. So the really important thing within that architecture is self-attention. Basically, it basically means is that when you sort of convert text to embeddings, you don't just give like a one-to-one mapping just because of the word or the token, but you try to add in the weight based on the attention. That means the position of the word in the statement, as well as the relationship that it has with other words. So that's on a high level what self-attention means. So if you haven't heard about this before, it might not make sense, but that's the most important thing for you to understand large language models. So yeah, start with understand neural networks, and then sequence models, and then go to Transformers paper, read that, and understand self-attention. That's session I've done previously on this, with on self-attention basically. And then you'll understand how the large language models works and getting trained. That's the fundamental side of things. And then you can see there are so many variations of this based on fine-tuning, etc., that different domains have been trained. So yeah, it's moved a lot from like what was there in 2017, 2018, Transformers model. But that's sort of the fundamental side of things. So yeah, I'll probably share some sort of visualized demonstration on this, so you can try and like go through it like on your own time. Are there limitations when deploying models trained with SageMaker in different cloud environments? No. So as long as you use, so SageMaker is basically like tool that you can use to build stuff, right? So as long as you use SageMaker and create a model, you can either expose it through an API, or you can download it if needed. So no, so I mean, like Anthropic, and I think even Cohere, I think they use AWS sort of infrastructure to train their models, and then stuff like, I'm sure they're using tools like SageMaker to train these kind of models, and either expose them separately or have them extracted their own sort of like to expose these models and maintain these models. And also like these models are like trained in distributed way rather than like individual sort of like a machine, right? So after you train these things individually, you can like sort of combine them, use like the fundamentals of federated learning, and then use that to sort of run any kind of a sort of offering in the LLM space. After you have the model, I think it is the same. I think only differences would be like if there are security differences, like how the models are served, or because you basically use like a general language, like a Python language, to train these models, right? So this is like SageMaker is like a tool that you use to train the model, and at the end of the day, what you have is like as I said, a sipped version of the knowledge out there. So it's a set of weights, and when you have the weights of the neural network, you can use that to like do any kind of a task with it. So simple answer is there are no limitations. It's the same thing. It's only difference is like how we train it. So yeah. Give me a second. Sorry, just switch. Yeah, any advice for us noobs who are trying to learn more about LLM and the whole AI thing? Yes, for this, I would recommend anybody who's starting off, if you have a programming background, go to fast.ai, fast.ai. So it has two courses. One is on fundamental machine learning, and the second one is on large language models and diffusion models, etc. So you go through this. It's a practical based program that you can use to go through very quickly. It doesn't go through like a lot of theory stuff. So yeah. So that's the first thing that you should do, and try to understand the fundamentals. I don't mind going through a course online. There are quite a lot of YouTube stuff. So yeah, start from fundamentals, and then use that to like sort of go and apply it very quickly. So in that way, you understand why and how things work. And if something doesn't make sense, take your time to understand it. Yeah. So what do you think on working with GPT models through Azure? Is there any session for that? Okay, the first one is, do you think Bedrock API? Sorry. Okay, skip the question. What do you think on working GPT models through Azure? Is there any session for that? I'm not sure, but if you want it to be the same in the structure, I can try and find some resources for that. I mean, let me take some notes on this. And especially with GPT model, it's very easy. You can create GPT. I mean, it's not training per se, but you can like with future learning, you can access GPT models which is out there. Yeah, I'll try and find some resources, but to be very similar. Yeah. Do you think Bedrock API is OpenAI's API? I don't think Bedrock is there yet. But the only advantage you have with Bedrock is that you have access to set of models that are not available through OpenAI, as well as OpenAI. Price-wise, I think almost similar for external use cases, and I think Bedrock. The only comparison I would do is like rather than Bedrock is like Claude and OpenAI. Like Claude, I think it's a bit cheaper depending on the model you pick. Yeah, depending on the model you pick. OpenAI, yeah, I don't think Bedrock is there yet, still quite new, but OpenAI is much better. But if you have data in AWS at the moment, you can't move things to Azure, then obviously Bedrock, I would use Bedrock API. So yeah, that is the answer to that. So yeah, if you're starting off new, I recommend OpenAI. If you have already stuff in AWS, I would go with AWS resources to see, because GenAI should be driven by business case rather than trying it out. So look at your business case and based on that, try and pick the stack. Yeah. Can we use one AI model to train another model? Example, train a ChatGPT model to using Amazon Bedrock model. Okay, I didn't get the question. Because can you use one AI model to train another model? The ChatGPT model using Amazon's Bedrock. I don't think I got this question, but I'll try to make sense of it. Train a ChatGPT model. So Bedrock is not a model itself. It's an API that you can access models. If you want to interact with model, definitely you can use like LangChain, something like that, and you can like sort of have these APIs connected. You can wrap LangChain around Bedrock, similar to GPT models, and you can have these two connect to one another. And if you have some sort of interaction that is happening between that is needed to train the model, you can definitely do that. So you use some sort of a tool like LangChain to create this. So I mean, maybe I didn't get the question. Feel free to reach out to me afterwards. I'll try and answer the question. How LLM used in healthcare industry? If a patient have IoT device that measure his health parameter, what can we do to improve this kind of scenarios using LLM? Yeah, I mean, health, I think rather than stuff regarding IoT, because LLMs are useful when you have like large data sets in a specific domain, because healthcare, like if you take patient records, like electronic health records, stuff like that, you can use that to understand like what's the health of population in a country or like an area. So you have this like foundation knowledge, right? So you use that to then fine tune to a specific use case and then try to make sense of that. So the IoT devices would be part of the data set that you feed into the model rather than the data set itself, because it will be like the inference point of like inferencing moment of the model, right? So you train a model with large data sets and use that to get some output, but you need more than IoT, because IoT itself devices, it's very hard to create a large language model, but it will be part of the sort of data set that will be used. And yeah, I mean, after you use that, there are so many other algorithms that you can use, like activity recognition, tracking patient's health. So you can do a lot with like smart home settings, like smart hospitals, etc. You can have these kind of things within healthcare setting, but IoT itself, you can't do a lot because there's no pattern as such to have like a foundation knowledge. Yeah. Can you share sample? Yes, I can do that. Are there recommended best practice fine-tuning LLMs? Are there recommended practices for fine-tuning LLMs? It's a good question. So AI is quite new, so different people try different things. So for example, things like LangChain, if you follow those, they have different frameworks, sort of guidelines that you provide to fine-tune models and use different kinds of models together. I would follow something like that, but it's very hard to say if there are any best practices yet. And as I said, your data is like the key differentiator. As long as you have like a really good data set, you can actually fine-tune LLMs in a much better way. So I think, yeah, focusing on your data is the key, like your private data set. that sort of give you an edge. Creating the data set, creating mechanism to evaluate the data set. So that would be my focus rather than fine-tuning aspect, because fine-tuning aspect is generally democratized and it's mainly handled through these service providers a lot, as long as we follow their sort of guideline. I mean, if you take that GPT models, the agents, you have like a structure, right? You provide the different documents that you have, other sort of information that you have. So you use that to sort of create an agent and then create a customized GPT for you. So that's my understanding, but I'll check if there are any best practices that I can find. The specific advantages or disadvantages you see in using Palm 2 for implementing an intelligent app compared to other language models. I haven't used Palm 2, so it's a bit hard to explain it. But I think Palm 2 had been evaluated with medical application with MedPalm, like Palm 2 being the foundation model for that. I think they have been like being the top model. So if you're doing something in the medical domain, I think try it out. So that might be interesting. So yeah, let me know the results. I would like to know how to prevent SQL injection tags in stream with apps. I wouldn't know. I mean, stream with applications. How we access? So I mean, as long as you, I mean, if you stream it to accessing database, as long as you set the SQL injection sort of guardrails within the database itself, that's all what we can do. From front end point of view, I don't think we can do much. So Streamlit is basically a front end tool. So might be able to, like, at the input level, we can check these things. I'm sure there might be. I mean, because SQL injection is like a very fundamental problem, right? So there should be within the input sort of, you take input parameters, you can like try and figure out if there are like unwanted parameters within the input that we get from a user. So you can use that to sort of make sure that we're not sending anything to the backend. Yeah, so that's like the fundamental things. I don't know if they have very specific, yeah, anything specific. Yeah. Also, research segment integrate differently. I was like integration. Yeah, this is, yeah, I'm not sure. Like, so it's something that you should ask from Claude or ChatGPT. This is a very good question. Like, because everybody's doing everything, so whatever you can think of, there should be a paper or somebody doing this. So because whatever the field they are, like everybody's working on ML. So I had a conversation with somebody from Microsoft recently. So for research collaboration, there was like, yeah, we stopped everything and doing large language model research now. So that's what everybody's doing. So research point of view, that's what's happening. So there are so many possibilities right now. So there will be like different kinds of integrations with ML. Like if you look from a structured point of view, like how do you sort of get structured information out in so that's a really interesting problem, because I mean we get stuff from JSON, right? So if you have a custom model architecture that you want to get data out, like for graph generation, things like that. So yeah, it is. I think everybody's doing everything, so that's the answer for that. So I wouldn't like worry much. There should be a paper on whatever the topic that you're interested in, unless you should do that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the last question, right? So yeah, Sonali, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, that is yeah, that is all. So with that, thank you for sharing the expertise and insights with us today. Your contributions have enriched our understandings of the technological landscape and the boundless possibilities of AI. So we sincerely appreciate your time and commitment. Dr. Akshika, please accept this token of appreciation.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just before we sign off, so I just want to share this in the chat. Wait, I think it's, let me see. Yeah, so select everyone. Yeah, so this is a video from Andre Karpathy. So definitely, so try and go to follow this video. It builds a GPT from scratch. So that's really interesting, like without using any kind of like high-end tools, so use that. So give it a go in the weekend. And if you manage to do that, just reach out to me. So I can't say the first, but the people who reach out to me, the first 10 people, I'll give like session with me, like any kind of questions you guys have, like 15 or 20-minute call, any kind of mentoring you need, because I'll tell you like the type of charging I do normally. My hourly rate is 250 pounds. So I'll give that free of charge for the first 10 people who do this. And if you have any specific questions, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest. If you search my name, you should find it. So give it a go, try it out. Even if you're not successful, that's okay. Whatever you worked on, just reach out to me. If you're within the like top 10 people, I'll give you like a session with me to answer any kind of questions you have in the ML AI space. I mean, it's very vast, so I don't know everything, but things that with what I know, whether it's PhD, applying for PhDs, industry, and everything, I can give you a good sort of guidance on that. So yeah, reach out to me and try that out and let me know how it goes. Yeah, so that's my last message.
So thank you very much, Dr. Akshika. I think that is a great opportunity for our delegates because we saw that they have a lot of curious questions about how to go on with the field, how to make a path in the future. So I think this would be a great chance, a great opportunity for our delegates to have a one-to-one discussion about their concerns. So thank you very much, Dr. Akshika Wijesundara, for being here once again and sharing your knowledge with us, with all the AI enthusiasts here. So
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Okay. So next, we will inform you about the physical hackathon. So it is with excitement that we announce to get ready for the AI Bootcamp Hackathon scheduled on the 10th of December at IIT School of Computing, starting at 7 a.m. and running till 5 p.m., whereas the lunch will be provided. And this is a 4-hour hackathon that promises to be an immersive experience, and we encourage you all to start preparing from now onwards. So these are the key details about the hackathon. We encourage you to use the Palm2 API for case study implementation, and feel free to use open AI APIs, bearing in mind your token usage costs. And you also have the flexibility to choose any framework or language stack for your implementation. We will provide you with multiple use cases, and you'll have 30 minutes to choose one, and ensure you come prepared with background work from the 4th session, as you will be only given 4 hours for the implementation. So stay tuned for more details and announcements about the hackathon, because we are counting on your enthusiastic participation. So let's take another moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to those who make this event possible. A big thank you once again to all our sponsors who played a crucial role in supporting us. Our trailblazing partner, IFS, our AI expertise partner, Zone 24/7, our mentoring partners, WSO2, 99X, and Nagaro, our industry collaborative partners, LASCOM, our ecosystem partners, Virtusa, Trades, and Accelera, our judging partners, LSEG, Surge Global, and Mad Mobile, our new partner, IEEE Student Branch of IIT. Your support is truly appreciated. So before we adjourn today's session, let's capture this memorable moment. To all the participants, kindly turn on your cameras as we prepare to take a group photo to commemorate this session. So we will be taking the picture in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you everyone for your active participation in the group photo as well. So your presence has given this event its vibrancy. Stay tuned for the 4th session of the AI Bootcamp happening on 3rd December, where we will delve into deeper implementing generative AI models in practice. So stay tuned with us, and also have a wonderful evening. Stay curious and stay connected to the ever-evolving world of technology. Have a fantastic day. Thank you.